Don't look so happy about that.
Well, you know, I'm still a helper, I'm still gonna be a helper. I'm also the editor of the newsletter, so I hope that y'all enjoyed that newsletter. And here comes some more. Come on down front, we got plenty of room down here, Dr. Gladney, so that you can hear.
And
Put
Timmy,
together that huge blue book in 2003, I think it was.
So that's your main log here.
Oh, and he didn't hear any of that. We are applauding you for putting together the blue book.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, and I never had the pleasure of meeting your wife, but I know she worked really, really hard. So a lot of them have been in this group for a long time, and we're so happy that it continues. This Rocky Mount Church has been several different denominations, but prior to that, there was a family named DeGuerin. This is Donald DeGuerin of the DeGuerin family, and their family even came through here before the Russells and Gladneys. They came through on covered wagons. Was it two brothers?
Two brothers.
Two brothers were coming from Virginia or North Carolina to go to California. So they had high hopes, you know, that wagons and safety and health would get them to California. 12-year-old daughter Abigail became ill and died here. So that family stayed here to bury her here. So that's the oldest grave here.
Wow.
And it's a pile of rocks.
That's amazing.
There's no stone, there's a pile of rocks. And there's another grave pile of rocks beside it, okay? Now, I love the gift that God gave me for education. And that's why I wanted to have us learn the history of it before we go out there and look at them. Because most of the time you go to a cemetery or you go to a reunion and you go to the cemetery and then everyone's kind of like, what are we looking for? Why are we here? Who was this? Who was that? You're out there in the heat trying to find the person that knows it, okay? So, Abigail DeGuerin is the first old grave out there. So her father chose to plant his family here. The DeGuerins later married in with the Russells. And their house, their old home, is directly across the way. We're not going to go over there, but as you leave, you'll see there's a very old home over there. And that was Donald's, was it your grandparents?
My grandmother and grandfather.
His grandmother and grandfather's house there. So he grew up playing around that house.
That which was the Sally, that's where the Miss Sally come in with the Russell name.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
grandfather with the
So DeGuerin and the Russells linked up and were here. They are still the keepers of the cemetery. The cemetery is family owned by the DeGuerins, and Donald is the one that lives here closest. He takes care of it. He hires a man to help him because we can't always do everything ourselves anymore. But Donald and his friend Tony help keep the grounds clean. And any time that Amy and I have come and looked at it, it's always been very well kept. So thank you. You are honoring your family so greatly. The church is a separate entity, so the church does not keep the cemetery clean. But there's a lot of history here at the church. This used to be a church and a school. And the school was right behind, well, not part of this. And then at one point, it burned down, so then it was rebuilt. And then at some point, there was a church, the school was in the other back building behind. So there was a school in the back, which you kind of see the structure. The interesting thing about that is that it went up to a certain grade. It went through 8th grade, And then the children molded into was it Overton or New
They had to
London?
go to Overton, Henderson, or Kilgore.
Overton or Kilgore High School for that.
Explain.
Okay, so we're right on the edge of Overton, but where we are now is New London. Now, there's history about the school. It used to be called London, I believe, before it was called New London. It was called London, but they had a very tragic accident. They had an explosion. Do you remember what year?
1937.
March 18th,
March 18th, 1937.
3/11.
3:11 p.m.
Yeah.
So it was in the afternoon, right before school was out. There were still lots of students there. A lot of people were killed.
Faculty members also.
Mhm.
Almost 300.
Almost 300 people killed. This is a huge, huge history that happened. Our cousin Sharon couldn't be here. She got COVID last week, but she lives in Baton Rouge now. But her mama was my Aunt Lucretia. Aunt Lucretia married Norman Gunn from Overton area, and Norman's brother was killed in the school accident. Norman was not at the school that day, or had already gone home early.
It was a natural gas leak.
Yes,
It
so,
had no sin.
right, so it was a natural gas leak, and back then, it did not have a smell. There was no odor. There was no alarm to say, hey, there's danger, get out of the building. It was because of this accident that the gas companies put an odor into the gas. So those of us know, if you smell something, you go, oh, that's gas smell. They did not have that gas smell until this accident at the school. It killed over 300 people.
What year was that?
1937, March 18th.
1937.
There's a museum in New London. They even got a letter in there, Adolf Hitler sent it.
Wow.
His mother graduated from there.
to school.
So there, down the road is it's called the New London Museum. So if you're interested in doing any research on that or go visit that museum, it's a very interesting place.
And you go out here at 42 and just take a right and it goes all the way into town, New London.
Goes all the way into New London. Just another little side tidbit, my mother always wanted to be an educator. She wanted to teach school. After she raised her 4 children, she went back to school in Nacogdoches to finish her teaching degree. She wanted to teach high school, American history, and Spanish. She taught at New London High School.
Oh, wow.
So I got to go with her, a few times to school and stuff. And so it's just, God brings us in full circles, and it's just a blessing. So that's kind of a little bit of the backstory of this. Now, for the Gladney part of this, Mary Ann Gladney married Forgus McDowell Russell. They were both born in Winnsboro, South Carolina, where our Gladney group meets every other year. So they were descendants from the ones that came from Ireland. Mary Ann Gladney was them from Samuel Gladney. So a lot of us in this area, because we're related to Mary Ann, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, Wally.
Yeah,
Wally's our historian. He knows everything about every old Gladney. Correct me, Wally, if I say anything incorrect, because I want to make sure that we're getting everyone together. So Forgus McDowell Russell married Mary Ann Gladney. They came here to settle. And then there was an interesting story that they came, but then they went back because she missed her family. But then when they went back, the family, families kind of do this, or families kind of do this. So when they came to Texas, they moved back, and then there was like some of this going on. So they said, you know what, let's go back to Texas. So they came back to Texas.
We used to travel in groups of acquaintances and different families, 3 or 4 different families. The Russells traveled with the Gladneys and several other his great-grand folks live in Lineville, Alabama, which is adjacent to Randolph County, Alabama, where I live. And the Russells lived there one generation. They lived in south of Atlanta for one generation. And so in the mid-1840s or 50s, they moved on from Lineville, Alabama, Randolph County, Alabama, which is where we are, Roanoke, on to here.
On to here. So that's how we found the Gladneys were planted here. So it's the Gladneys and the Russells. There's a lot of Gladneys and Russell cemeteries, or cemeteries that we visit back in South Carolina. We invite all of you to come. Next year we'll be in South Carolina visiting those. We do that as a memorial every other year. And next year is going to be the 50th annual Gladney celebration. So if you've never been before, hello, it's going to be fun. And hold on one second.
While you're doing that, I just want to take a picture.
Okay.
I want to take a picture of you guys.
I know you can't see it, but this is the list that Amy came up with. It was our little mission because Amy and I wanted to find out, why did the Gladneys come here and where are we, you know, how did we spread, where are we buried? She did this spreadsheet. There were 9 cemeteries that she found of our descendants. But of course, there's a lot more than just that. And I think a lot of these, we probably got off the Gladney website, but then we find more and more and more. And Dan's aren't on here, but Dan's family were the Panels, and so they are in some of the other cemeteries. But today, there's so much history, but I just wanted us to visit this one because this is where they first came. And so Forgus McDowell Russell, Marianne Gladney-Russell, Thomas Gladney-Russell. They were all, the 3 of them were born in Winsboro, South Carolina. Then there's a James Ross Russell that was born in Georgia, and his wife Helen Elaine Russell Box.
That was McDonough, Georgia, that's south of Atlanta.
Henry City, Georgia is what it says.
That's in the county.
The county, yes, sir. Okay, and then Benjamin Barton Box is from Franklin City in Tennessee.
You're saying box, right?
Box, B-O-X, like a cardboard box. And then there are some more Russells out here. There's a Russell from Georgia. There's a Mary Elizabeth Brown Russell from Louisiana. And so we will see all of their headstones out here. They are all in the shade, and it is cloudy. Thank you, Lord. Now, Greg and I came a few weeks ago. That's when we met Donald. I met Donald through our Facebook page, our Gladney Facebook page. Amy and I had been just want to meet a DeGuerin. And God blessed us by connecting him on that website, on the Facebook page. And I know not everyone's on the Facebook page, but we've made some wonderful connections. Several of you here, we connected through the Facebook page. And Greg, bless his heart, he came, we ordered that cleaner that you use to clean the headstones. I'd never done it before. And we came, and Donald educated me of all of his family history while Greg was cleaning 12 headstones. Thank you, Greg. And so now we're going to go out and visit those. Just one more thing. There are several children graves out there. And Amy had noticed when we were here first that there are 3 children, Mary Lucy Russell, Ellen Melinda Russell, and Luann Russell. And they were young. They were 7, 4, and 1, and it was probably a flu or a scarlet fever that took
Were
them.
those dates all kind of close together when they were buried? Because that's what
September
you'll see.
19th, October
Yeah.
1st, October 17th. Within 1 month, they lost 3 children. 1875.
And that's in fall and October, and I'll tell you right now, it's probably yellow fever. I'll
Yellow
just take
fever?
a wild guess. Okay, but it was yellow fever.
It's
Okay.
most likely yellow fever. at that
Yellow
time.
fever? So see
You'll see
this,
cluster.
I heard Abigail died of a fever. That's all my dad knew. She died of a fever.
okay.
It's probably yellow.
So, see, we learn more and more as we gather, and that we're all here, and we can hear the history and add into it. Before we go out, do you have any other questions or any additions you'd like us to hear while we're all here before we go out?
Well, I wanted to expand a little bit about where the name Forgus McDowell Russell came from. Forgus McDowell Russell got his name, his father's name was Thomas Russell, and he's buried in Henry County, Georgia. But on the McDowell side, that's where the Forgus name came from. Because, let me get it right. Thomas Russell's wife was a McDowell, so we believe that her father was named Forgus because that name gets passed down through the generations. So when you go to Winnsboro, not only do you get to see your Gladney immigrant ancestor, you also get to see your Russell immigrant ancestor. His name was James Russell. He was a stonemason from Northern Ireland, and he came to the United States in 1771 and is buried beside the church he helped build, and his grave is marked. So it's another one of the highlights that we get to see when we go to Winnsboro. So if you've never been to see the graves, you need to go at least one time. It's a fascinating experience. It really is.
Thank you, Tony.
Now, one thing to note, we talked about the allied families that migrated together.
Stand up so everyone can hear you.
Well, one thing about the allied families that Wally was talking about, those are families that migrated from one part of the country to the other. And I think you'll find, if you look deep enough, that a lot of us are probably double cousins. Like Lonnie and I were talking a few years ago about the Russells and the Gladneys and the Pannells. And, we're all double cousins. And so because there were so many people, a limited number of people in those families, so they married different families. And I like, many of you might remember William Cody Gladney, down around Hillsboro. Well, that's where my father's family was from. And they migrated from Alabama over to the south of Florida. And I used to joke about when I looked there, my grandmother was a McLean, and I'm looking in Dawson and Hubbard area. I saw the McLeans, the Pannells, the Limbaughs, the Pools, Gladneys, all together, and they all married one another. And I used to laugh at you. You walk down the street, and I'm sure everybody looked alike. Because there were just a limited number of people for marriages back then. So we're a lot of double cousins.
Okay, so the first time I went, 6 years ago wasn't my first time to go, but it was my first, actual learning time to go. When Dale invited me out there 6 years ago to the 2019 Gladney Reunion, and we went to the first cemetery, and Dale said, "Oh, go ride with Tawny, because he knows all the history." So that's how I got to know Tawny, and he knows so much history. Wally is our historian, so he will give you a lot of history about the cemetery and about all the Gladney people. And Dan is a past president, and he knows so much, and so much of the history. So it's really, really fun to be able to learn all of this. Now, when Forgus McDowell and Marianne Gladney came and planted their home here, I read through our Gladney history that Forgus McDowell, I think, built this church, the first one. Built the first one.
I think you're right.
Okay?
But I think it was on the other side of the cemetery, and then my grandmother, Sarah, had it moved over here.
Oh,
That's what Mr. Knight was telling me. And I don't
okay.
know what year that was, but it was one room, just a one small church.
One room, small church.
And they moved it over here,
Mhm.
and
So a lot of those Gladneys and Russells were carpenters and builders, and of course, you know, you plant, you wanna live somewhere, you gotta build a structure, right? So part of that is the history, and that's part of the history that carries forward into tomorrow, because the house that our daddy built was also built by some of the Dudley cousins who were carpenters for the Kilgore area. So, you know, we don't have to travel in covered wagons anymore, and we don't have to build our own home all the time anymore, though Dale's son, Brian, is a wonderful carpenter. He's kind of self-made, and I think he got a lot of that from our father. That was, you know, sometimes you're not trained in that, but you just do it and you learn. And her son has learned a lot of that. I feel like those roots were passed down, you know, from our father into her son, and her son engages his two kids who are now teenagers. And they were supposed to be here, but the daughter got sick last week, so they weren't able to come. Okay, let's go out.
Question, was this originally a Presbyterian church?
I believe it was.
yeah.
Yep.
Then it was, at one time it was non-denominational, and they had rotating pastors. They'd have Presbyterian one week, Methodist the next, Baptist, and so on.
I think a lot of churches back then, you know, because your people that live in the area maybe don't always want the same denomination. So it is true, and that's part of this church history, that they would have, you know, Baptist one week, Presbyterian one week, Methodist one week, but they all came together here at the House of
Mr. Knight told me it became a Baptist full-time in 1918.
1918 became Baptist full-time. Okay, now we're going to go out and look at the graves, but before we do, I'm going to have Mr. DeGuerin give you a little bit of history of the school building behind us. It was a school, but then it was also like a medical facility.
How much detail do you
Well, not the worst, not the
All
worst
of it.
part, but
Give it off.
Remember, there's children.
here's children's.
give?
They just turn around and fun.
Okay. They had a one-room school back there. When the one-room school got too small, so they had to build a school. So they built a brand-new school back here. New London didn't even have a school at the time. So they built a new school, and when they built that new school, it had to be after 1928. I don't know when it was, but they built it. They built this brick school back here, and that's when they went to 12th grade. My dad graduated from San Benito High School in 28. That's the only reason I know it. He couldn't graduate back here because when he went to the 8th grade. So they built this building. Well, after New London School got built in 35, that's when my mom graduated. She was the first class that graduated. When they built the New London School in 35, then it blew up in 37. But in 35, they consolidated with the New London School. So all the kids here went to New London after 1935. The state took this hospital. They made a hospital out of the school. And what they did, I don't know what they did before the war, but after the war was over with, they used it for experimental hospital. There was like 6 of them across the United States. Not many people know about them. But what they did was they would bring soldiers back, and they would inject them with venereal diseases. And then they would try to get cures for the venereal diseases, so they would treat them. And this was one of the hospitals in the United States. There was like 6 of them, I think, and all across the United States. People didn't know about that part of the history, but right after World War II.
Where was the hospital?
Huh?
The hospital was where?
Right here, right behind
It's
you.
right
See it?
behind.
You got some- This is what's left of
Yeah,
it.
it's down the.
Some kids tried to burn it down about 3 years ago, I
It's
think.
like down the hill.
me see it.
Okay, so we're gonna go out. We're gonna go outside. As we're going outside, I'm gonna go out first, and I'd like us to have just a family picture here at the front, at the entrance of the church. We're gonna go to the cemetery.
Cemetery.
Okay, y'all come on out.
I'll talk to you later, y'all.
Looks like there was a massive tree over there.
I'm gonna go open this gate. Y'all can open that gate. We keep them
Jimmy's our
closed.
videographer, videoing. Marianne Gladney-Russell, born 1800 to 1876 is where she died here. She was born in Winnsboro. She married Fergus McDowell Russell. He also was born in Winnsboro. He was born in July 1802, died here in 1870. Thomas Gladney-Russell, born 1821. Now, I don't have my genealogy out here, but I assume he might be the son of those two. Okay?
Well, what it is, he was named for Mary Ann's father. Mary Ann's father was Thomas Gladney.
So a lot of, through the families back then and also families now, you're named for a lot of your ancestors. So you will see a lot of the common names, okay? And even when I go back through the Blue Book, I was curious, I wonder how many Lucretias, because I don't know where Lucretia came from, but there are Lucretias back in the Gladney book too.
And it gets even more confusing because both of their fathers were named Thomas. There was Thomas Gladney, there was Thomas Russell. So they were both Thomases.
So there was a lot of the confusion when you're getting into our Gladney group, and it's like, are you a Samuel, a Thomas, or a Richard? But see, those were the three sons that lived. There was another son named Joseph, but he never married, so he never had kids. And he's buried in the Winnsboro Cemetery that y'all will get to come see next year, right? Okay, and then so here's more Russells. These were newer, died in 1964. There's an old Russell, J.R. Russell, that died in 1916. This one lived 1884 to 1965.
That's John Ross.
John Ross Russell.
Died 1923. 28.
23.
We'll come back next time and clean the ones that we missed. Our first focus was this right here. And then we just started cleaning more and more that had the Russell name. A lot of the DeGarens were newer, but we cleaned right over there, DeGaren, that's his grandfather and great-grandfather.
What happens when someone finally comes and says, we're putting this so everybody can read it and know what it is? Obviously, there's some other headstone that was in tatters.
This is a section that was put in by one of the other Russells, and there's some important things in here. I think these are the three children that died at a young age, and that I just told you about, and then I think their parents were these. So this, and then in the back, this is Robert Forgus, married Mamie Peterson. Robert Forgus was buried in 1960. This one, Neil McDowell, Russell, 1931. These are two sisters. These two sisters were both school teachers. And they had long legacies. They were very loved. And they never married. They kept their name Russell. They never married. They taught other people's children, and they loved teaching. Now Wally just informed me, because I've read a lot of history about them. Wally just told me that the lady, Mildred Arnold, that wrote the Red Book, Mildred Arnold and Robbie Dale Russell are the ones that found the Gladney Cemetery after the Gladney Cemetery had been, set for years and years. It was Mary Arnold and Bobby Dale Russell that found that, and it's become what it is today. And Judy Bloodsell and her husband take care of that cemetery. They come and they mow it, and they make it, clean when we visit. But they mow that cemetery and clean it at least once a quarter. So we're thankful for anyone, all these family members that help take care of cemeteries. And a lot of you others help take care of your cemeteries for your ancestors at your church, at your home church. And so we know what an honor and a blessing it is. Because not any ordinary people will come out here to witness, to view, to learn, or to sweat. So let's go back in the church. We're going to go back in the church and talk about where we're going to go visit next. It's
not too bad today. It's been a lot worse out here.
Yep.
It's definitely been worse weather over the past year.
Dedicated usually 7 or 9:30. Yeah. Or late night.
stuff that was submitted into some Russ County books, Russ County and Gregg County books. And I just want to share a little bit with you because we have, how many of you, this is your first time to be at one of our Gladney reunions? Raise your hand. Okay. All right, so you've been to, maybe you've been to some Dudley Russell reunions, but you didn't know that much about any of this Gladney stuff. So we just saw the grave for Forgus Russell. This is this is from page 380 of the Russ County history book, submitted by somebody that was a Russ County, Texas coordinator. James Russell came to America around, and this is for Forgus Russell. James Russell came to America around 1771. At this time, he received a land grant of 300 acres on Jackson Creek in Fairfield County, South Carolina, where we're going next year. His wife's name was not given in any of the records. One child, possibly others, were born in Northern Ireland. The names of his children were James, William, Robert, Thomas, Robert, Jane, Letty, and Ellie. James was a master stonemason and a planter, and also served with the South Carolina Regulators in the Revolutionary War. James gave a tract of land for the use of the Lebanon Presbyterian Church. As a stonemason, he helped build this church. The walls are still standing, and James is buried in the cemetery near these walls. And that's what Tawny was talking about. And the first time that I went and learned so much from Tawny, and Tawny said, here's the grave. This is our Russell connection. So we each got our picture there. Thomas was born in 1775, married Mary McDowell in Fairfield County about 1800. Thomas was a lieutenant in the War of 1812. His children were Forgus, born in 1802, Marianne, Susanna, Robert, Eliza, James, Leticia, and Thomas, who died as a child. Thomas and his family moved. Thomas was moved to Henry County, Georgia, about 1828. Forgus Russell and his wife, Mary Ann Gladney, and her family, the Thomas Gladneys, all moved along with Thomas. When Thomas arrived in Henry County, he gave the land for the Timber Ridge Presbyterian Church, and with the help of others, built this church. In 1849, Forgus Russell was elected as one of the justices of the inferior court of Henry County, Georgia. In the early 1850s, Forgus and his family moved to Texas. After a year or so in Texas, they became dissatisfied and returned to Jonesboro, Georgia, about 30 miles from his mother and brothers. It is said that he told them, "If you don't come see me, I'm going back to Texas." He did return to Texas, traveling by wagon and carriage. The Russell women rode in the carriage along with an old Negro slave called Aunt Phoebe. They pitched a circle tent each night, and on Saturday stopped at noon and prepared food for Sunday, as no cooking was done on Sunday. On arriving in Rusk County, the Russells settled in the Rocky Mount community. Forgus was a stonemason and a farmer. He built many chimneys in the East Texas area, as well as stone houses in Georgia. Forgus owned 305 acres of land and was a good provider. There was always plenty to eat, and Indians from the Cherokee territory often rode up to the gate, came in, and waited to be served. The children of Forgus were Thomas, Creighton, Melinda, Robert Ross, Carter, Crew, Ellen, Sloan McDowell, and Hutchinson. Ross had a twin who died at birth. 6 sons served in the Confederate Army. The other one was ill and stayed at home and made shoes. Robert died in Meridian, Mississippi from an illness during the war. In 1866, Sloan married Mary Elizabeth Crow. Sloan and Mary's only 3 children, Mary, Ellen, and Lou, died within a month's time in 1875. After this, 3 other girls and a boy were born to the couple. They were Sally, who married P.R. DeGuerin, Georgia, who married Victor Beasley, Lulu, who married George DeGuerin, and Robert, who married Mamie Peterson. To Robert and Mamie, there was born one son, Neil McDowell, who died at the age of 12 from a rheumatic heart condition. Other children were Mary, who married W.W. Davidson, Margaret, Evelyn, who married H.M. Lindsay, Robbie Dale, and Georgie Nell, who married M.K. Betts, Jr. Robert and Mamie are now deceased, but they have, in other parts of the United States, 4 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren. Rob Russell bought a farm as a young man and developed one of the finest farms in the area. The Russells were Presbyterian, and Rob served as an elder in the Rocky Mountain Presbyterian Church. He was also a trustee of the Rocky Mountain School for many years. Rob and Mamie were determined that their children receive a good education, so they moved to Henderson in 1931 in order that they attend accredited high school. Now, I have a little more history on someone else. This is John Davis. The John Davis family came to Rusk County around 1851, sometime between 1851 and 1845, from Wilson County, Tennessee. He was born in 1809 in Virginia, but was adopted by the Davis family while living in Wilson County. His adoptive mother was Sarah Davis, born in Germany in 1780. His first wife was Elizabeth Hearn. He and his second wife, Catherine Hearn, had 7 children, but only 5 were living when they came to Texas. They were Mary Cannon, Elizabeth Jane, James Walkup, Martha C., Maddie Catherine. So remember Maddie Catherine and William Burr. Catherine died and he married Mary Ann Mobley Purtle in 1854 in Rusk County. They lived in Bellevue, and they were active in the Methodist Church. They had one son, John W., born in 1856, but he only lived 6 years. Mary Ann died in 1879 and was buried beside her first husband, George W. Purtle, in the Purtle Methodist Cemetery. John Davis was married again to S.M. Mims in 1880 in Rusk County. He and his fourth wife lived in West Texas for some time. He died in 1890 and is buried in the Purtle Methodist Cemetery. In 1859, he was a witness at the wedding of William Carroll Dudley, remember that name, in Upshur County, and Bonetta Ann Andrews of Belleville or Purtle. Bonetta, remember Bonetta, at the home of Ebenezer Andrews. Andrews is a big name for us too around here. The eldest son of this couple was John Carroll Dudley, married John Davis's granddaughter, Mary Catherine Kate Russell, in 1886. They were the parents of the mother, Bonetta Inez Dudley Meadows. Bonetta Inez Dudley Meadows is our grandmother. So there was a Bonetta Andrews back, and then Bonetta Inez is our grandmother. John Davis, so we're talking about John Davis, but you know, you got all these descendants. John Davis was a farmer with extensive land holdings in the northern Rusk County area, and in 1881 sold 327 acres to his daughter, Maddie Catherine Russell, and her 3 children, Mary Catherine Kate Russell, Burr Davis Russell, and Henry Crew, which they called Toad Russell. Their father was Crew Kamak Russell. So now we're getting into more of the Dudley line. So it went from John Davis, and then he gave part of that land to his daughters. Another daughter of John Davis was Elizabeth Jane Davis, who married Robert A. Andrews in Rusk County in 1861. She bore 15 children, and in April of 1910, there were only 7 still living. At the time of the census, found her living in the household of her daughter, Bonetta, and son-in-law, Frank Young. He was a druggist and owned his store on North Main Street in Henderson. The Youngs had a 4-year-old daughter, Elizabeth, they called Bess. Called Aunt Betty of our family, Elizabeth Jane Andrews was still very active in 1919. According to letters written by my grandmother, Kate Dudley, she rode the train to Kilgore to visit the Dudleys and Sam Andrews families. At the age of 77, she complained that she was tired, but she still cooks breakfast every morning, draws most of all the water, and carries in her own wood. She called for visiting relatives in Kilgore, a chance to rest, but I am too old to do all of the dragging around. Some of Aunt Betty's children were Janice, Sam H., John H., Bob, and Mary Luana. Cousin Luana married Mr. Havencott, and she visited often in our home in the 1930s. She was very conscious of proper manners, and we kids were expected to be on our best behavior at all times. She gave me a very pretty little cedar box, which I still have. It's at our house. It smelled of snuff when she gave it to me. Aunt Betty died 1921 and is buried by her husband in the Purtle Cemetery. This was submitted by Dolores Meadows Lomax, my mother. and my sister, Dolores Ella Lomax, named for our mother, and the Ella is named for our father's sister. And so her initials are D-E-L, that's why we call her Dell. Okay, so my mom and then Louise, y'all met Louise last night. She was wearing a pink shirt. Louise started the Dudley Reunion. And Louise and my mother wrote a lot of these articles for the Rusk County history books and Gregg County history books. So we have a couple of more. William Carroll Dudley worked as a house carpenter most of his life in Texas after coming with his parents from Tennessee in October 1852. His mother was Seduction, named Siddy Edwards, and his father was Woodson Dudley. They settled first in Upshur County, that is where he and Bonetta Ann Andrews was living when she and William Carroll Dudley married in 1859. They lived in Upshur County when the first 4 children were born, in Rusk County, and the last 7 were born, or lived in Rusk County when the last 7 were born. 5 children died very young or shortly after birth. William Carroll Dudley served in the Civil War from the spring of 1862 until 1865, 3 years. According to his application of pension in Parker County, Texas, 1899. He stated that he could no longer work as a carpenter because of heart disease and deafness caused by supporting battery while in the Confederate Army. He served in Company D of Colonel Walter F. Lane's 1st Texas Rangers. Other records show him enlisted with Hill County, 1861, Company G with McCullough's 1st Cavalry as a private, and Captain Frost's company and James Holmesley's company. 1st Regiment Texas Mounted Riflemen. Ooh, I love riding a horse. You ride a horse? Shoot. We used to ride horses, but I never shot. McCullough's cavalry was organized in 1861 for 12 months. His horse was worth $75 and his equipment was $14. That was in 1862. At the time he got his pension, he wrote that he owned no real estate. I own 3 cows and calves, 1 mule, and 1 horse. All of this value of $125.
I got the old bullet mold.
You got the old bullet hole?
The old bullet mold.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool. Children born to William Carroll Dudley and Bonetta Ann Andrews, who did not survive, were Woodson, Marianne Anelio, Robham H., and Bonetta. Others were John Carroll, who married Mary Catherine Kate Russell. Everyone say Mary Catherine Kate Russell.
Mary Kate Russell.
And so she was our great-grandmother. And we're going to go visit their house. Anyway, as you can see, there's a lot of names that are repeated through the generations. This one was also written by my mother. She says, my grandfather was John Carroll Dudley, who lived in Rusk County at the time of his marriage, 1886, but worked as a carpenter anywhere there was work. His wife Kate was in Tyler in 1892 when he wrote her from Kilgore that he was getting out the timber to build a box house with 3 rooms and a gallery in front, right west of where the old cabin used to be, just outside the field. He also told her that George Meadows, Burr Russell, who was Kate's brother, and your pa, C.C. Russell, were helping him to build this house. This house was added on to later and can now be seen on Dudley Road, about 1 mile east of Kilgore, near the Rusk County line. Cliff Dudley was the 8th child born to William and Ann Dudley, lived near grandfather's place, just east of Kilgore in Rusk County. His children were Woodson A., Leonard Carroll, they both died very young, Leanne, who married Roy Edney, John Sanford, Samp, I call him Samp, who married Henrietta Etta Rice, Emma Sue, Raymond Carter, and then Cart, who was killed in Normandy in 1944, Vivian Beatrice, who married Eric Morgan Hale, Marguerite, who married William Oscar Heron, and after his death, T.O. Scales, Mary Love, who married Leonard Williamham, and Nancy Fay, who married William Eugene Northcutt. Submitted by Dolores Meadows Lomax, my mother. Okay, so this brings us down to the John Carroll Dudley home. This is the home that we're gonna go visit. We call it the Dudley home. But you know, there was a William Carroll Dudley and now John Carroll Dudley. So we're to Kilgore became a town in 1872. It was named after Constantine Buckley, named Buck, Kilgore, who donated a 200-foot strip of land containing 15 acres. The town site was marked off and sold to individuals and businesses. By 1880, the small town was considered economically sound and was surrounded by many small farms bought by people who came to Texas from the southern states. One of these farmers was John Davis, who came to Texas sometime before, in 1851 to 1854, from Wilson County, Tennessee. He began to buy land in northern Rusk County, and his first purchase was 1854, Rusk County. In the following years, he acquired several farms throughout the area. In 1879, he bought the 327-acre Pillsbury Place for $1,000, which is located just west of blah, 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 blah. All of these dates were documented of where she found these. She has a little bibliography on this. So John Carroll Dudley was born in Upshur County, 1861. He came to Rusk County, 1869, with his parents William Carroll Dudley and Benetta Ann Andrews Dudley. Farming was his main occupation until he learned carpentry from his father. He and Mary Catherine, Kate Russell, married in 1886. They were living in Tyler in 1892 when the decision was made to move to Kilgore. And then the following letter. So I already read part of the letter, but this is the letter that he wrote his wife. Dear wife, I resaved your letter this morning, or I resaved your letter this morning. Was glad to hear from you. This leaves all well. Me and George Meadows is hauling lumber, and we'll get all the lumber for the ground today that I will need. It will be a box house, or the box house with the 3 rooms and the gallery in the front. It is right west of the old cabin, where the old cabin used to be, just outside the field on the ridge. The water will run every way off of the house. I have got about half enough boards sawed and the rest of the timber out. Burr helped me get the timber, and your pa and Burr will help me build, I guess. If I can get a mule, him and Burr will be up there Wednesday morning. I want Reuben and Daisy shod up there. Send me $5 by him if he comes, and if he does not, get Will to send a registered letter by the last of the week. I've got enough to pay for the nails and the lumber. I guess I will have to pay for the hauling and get home. I will be home about the middle of next week if I can. I will close for the present. Love to all, John Dudley. So we're going to go see the house. There was a large double-walled frame house. It's a pier and beam structure. It sits on a foundation of native iron ore rock. The piers are made of hand-hewn white oak logs. which are still basically as sound and solid as they were when they were built. Like most houses built during this time period, the beams and flooring stand well off the ground, 3 feet or more. This space gives ample floor ventilation as well as providing an area for storing potatoes, onions, etc. The dry and soft sand underneath will serve as a play area for the children. A double fireplace, vented by a common chimney, is centrally located in the wall, dividing the 2 front rooms. A unique feature of the home is the wraparound porch and gallery. This porch extends continuously along the south and west of the house. The ends of this porch terminate into a single room known as stranger rooms, having access only from the porch. The Dudley family utilized these rooms as bedrooms for the sons, for visiting relatives, and sometimes for visiting Methodist parson. The living room ceiling is covered with beaded boards. The same material was used to install wainscoting in 2 of the rooms. The wainscoting is 3 feet high and capped with a traditional chair railing. The gable roof is very steep and was originally covered with the wood shingles. The house was painted white with turquoise blue trim. A white picket fence enclosed the yard. John Carroll and Mary Catherine Kate Dudley bought and inherited a portion of the farm from Henry C. Russell and his wife Minnie in 1901 in Gregg County. Burr Davis Russell and his wife Annie also sold their part to them in 1902. The Dudleys were the parents of 11 children. The youngest son died in 1924. And I was talking to Louise the other day. He died basically from like tonsillitis or complications from tonsillitis. They wouldn't, the father was too stubborn to have him treated and have his tonsils removed. The son died, and the wife, Kate Dudley, she was also suffering from the tonsillitis. After their son died, he finally allowed her to have her tonsils removed, and she lived. The Dudleys were the parents of 11 children. The eldest son, Isaac Alexander Dudley, named for the Alexander Institute and Methodist minister, he was made executioner of the estate. The property was divided equally between all the children, and the youngest daughter, Kate Dudley McFadden, inheriting the family home and the 30 acres surrounding the home. Kate Dudley McFadden was the mother of Louise. And we have some of those family members sitting right here. Raise your hand. Okay. These are some of the family members down that are very familiar with this Dudley home. Kate Dudley McFadden. Her husband was Herschel A. McFadden, and they made it their home until their deaths in 1980s. So they were still living there. They were the parents of 6 children. Today, the eldest McFadden daughter, Louise, and her husband still own the home and 17 acres surrounding the home. Though farming was an important part of John Carroll Dudley's life, he was also well known as a carpenter in the area. The Methodist Church and Baptist Church buildings, which burned down on the historic Sunday during the oil boom, were built by John Dudley, as well as many homes in the Kilgore area. For a short period of time, he would leave the farm in charge of his wife and children and travel to nearby towns to do carpentry work. This farm had a large flower garden to the east of the house. More than once, the story was told to grandchildren about how family members would come in 2 or 3 hours early from the fields to work in the flower garden. In fact, the John Dudley home had one of the finest flower gardens in Kilgore. It was planted with roses, Easter lilies, and an abundance of variety of seasonal plants. Since Kilgore had nothing like a florist yet in those days, the Dudleys would allow their garden flowers to be picked by members of the community to be fashioned into funeral wreaths. The flowers were picked and the wreaths were woven on the front porch. Truly the John Carroll Dudley home, located 2 miles east of Kilgore on Dudley Road in Gregg County. And it was comprised of the original house completed in 1900 and the 17 acres surrounding is significant in the history of East Texas area. This home typifies the lifestyle of the agrarian community that existed in 1890s and the decades following the turn of the century. The architectural style of the house and the fact that it was constructed by the farmer owner using his carpentry skills further enhances the need for the worthiness and commemoration. And I think there's no name on here. Either my mother wrote it or Louise wrote it. They used to submit a lot of history to the books. Now, I was supposed to tell you this introduction first. This was, Louise always gives the history of this, but those submissions were into the Russ County book and Gregg County book by Louise and my mother. And another family member wrote this: a family's growth and a farm's growth often go hand in hand, don't they? Just as a farm requires careful tending and nurturing to flourish, a family needs love, support, and hard work to thrive. Today we share with you the building of the family in East Texas that was built on the Gladney Foundation. And in conclusion, as you can see from this little bit of history that we've shared with you today, our establishment in this area came with support from family, putting in the work to build a future for all of the new branches of the Gladney family. So Louise has had some hospitalizations and some things, and she is fine, but as we go through life and go through changes like that, it just slows us down a little bit. So she's doing great. Normally, like as of last year, she would have been giving all of these readings for you. She will be at the home, and that's also why I chose that location to do our family plant swap. Grandma Dudley shared her garden flowers with the community. Our first Gladney president, John Marion Gladney, passed away last year. He grew lilies. He grew daylilies, and he would share daylilies, and he would share seeds, and he always shared with the Gladney families. So I wanted to carry on that tradition and call it Planting New Roots. So as we learn new family members, we embrace you, we hug you, we love you, and we'll share plants. I know not everyone is a gardener or a plant person, but those of us who are, we always share willingly. So thank you. Let's load up, or if there are any questions.
I was just gonna say, John Gladney actually raised Frank Gladney lilies.
Oh,
What?
Frank
Frank
Gladney.
Gladney lilies.
Wow.
We've got some.
We've got some.
He's a Frank.
They're really big
So
flowers.
if you want to learn a
Very big
little bit
flowers.
more about the John Gladney flowers, talk to Kathy, or talk to Judy, or maybe Dan. Let's gather around, make a circle. Y'all come in now, the sun, but let's circle around here. Circle here in the shade.
We need them.
Come on in, let's make a big family circle. Let's play. A Gladney family, and this is Louise McFadden Raby. Her mother was one of the last ones to grow up here.
I grew up here.
Oh, you grew up here too.
I grew up here.
She's the last generation to grow up here in this home. So Louise, you'd be very proud of me. I very discreetly kept exactly to the script. I read everything. I read all the John Davis, the William Carroll Dudley, the John Carroll Dudley, and the stuff that Sandra wrote. Sandra, thank you for those kind words that you wrote. It was just beautiful. So here we are gathered. They started gathering here in 1989, and they did it here as long as they could, but you can tell why then they moved it to some churches, okay? We're gonna have we're all in a circle. Can we all hold hands, and we're gonna have just a word of remembrance and dedication of this event?
You know what? Grab her.
We got
Grab
one hand.
him. He's got one hand. There we go. There we go. We got it.
Let's go ahead and remove all religious here, and let's go ahead and pray. Father God, we just thank you so much, Lord, for this beautiful day. We, out in your creation, reminded of your many blessings, the very breath in our lungs. We remember family and history. As we look back, we see your blessings, we see your guidance, and hopefully we gain some wisdom from those before us. I pray, Lord, that you would just bless this afternoon in fellowship as we look back. We thank you for this homestead. We thank you for this time here. We pray, Lord, that you would bless it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Okay, I'd like us to do a family picture before people start wandering off. We want to do a family picture, which is our tradition, in front of the house. And so let's have, some can stand on the porch.
Some.
A few on the porch. Be very careful where you are standing. So let's have a few up on the porch, and then let's just start. And it's sunny, so let's do it as quickly as we can. Let's line up. Stay with your spouse. Stay with your family group. So if you would please stay with your spouse and your family or your whatnot, and let's get this family picture done, and then you're welcome to. Okay. So this is the first. I don't know. It might not be the first time we've shared plants. I know Louise has been sharing plants with people. Betty Lee has been sharing plants with people. Where is Betty Lee or her family representative? Can you bring this for her? Betty Lee dropped it off this morning. Okay. So I recognize those, and both of those. But I don't know everything, but I just pretend to or make it up. So Betty Lee is Betty Lee's grandmother was who we call Aunt Dinah. She was one of the 11 children of the Dudleys. Okay, Aunt Dinah, because they all had a name. They all had names. I've gotten to go to her garden twice recently in the last month. So she has redbud tree seeds, redbud. She's got, holy seed, and then these are celosia, coxcomb. These bloom really pretty.
Red, right? They're red.
Kind of a hot pink or hot red.
These
are also from Betty Lee. Gave me one of This one didn't bloom for about 3 years, but then it started blooming. It gets small, sweet flowers about early September.
And it would be a quick death.
And then a bunch of aloe vera.
You see the plant making up.
Mexican mint, marigold, blooms gold in the fall, and it's very aromatic. Aloe vera.
Next year is cut down at the concrete back. Not touch anything.
Brandicacia. Brandicacia. Okay?
I'm Cheyenne. I'm Betty's great niece.
Betty Lee's great niece. So this is all descended from Aunt Dinah that grew up here. I am Lucretia, you know me, you've heard my voice, you're ready for me to shut up. So these are the plants that I brought, and some of the Christmas cactus are from Louise's house. Louise used to offer the Dudley Christmas cactus, but I think these are not Dudley Christmas cactus. These are just regular Louise Christmas cactus. Louise has such a green thumb. Oh my gosh, everything just grows beautifully at her house. She was the last family to grow up here. Green thumb, green thumb. Those of us who love gardening and love plants, we think, oh, I got that from my mama. And we did, your mama or your daddy, and you did. But it came to them through someone else, and through someone else, and through someone else. So I thought it quite lovingly appropriate for us to start, you know, sharing, planting new roots, blessed down from our old roots. So I have a... There's a bunch of that purple juice stuff that goes on crazy.
Oh, that was your base?
And so there's a lot of different ones in here. I just transported it easy.
Baseball base, when they play baseball.
I just noticed it's the year we got married, so I'll give that to her 59.
It says 59 on it. That's the year they
59.
got
59
married. He and
license
Louise here.
1959? Well, I was born in 1959.
Well, maybe you did.
So y'all been married 65 years.
Oh, that's what we
Yeah.
used to have for base out there.
Okay, so I think it's only fair, if you brought a plant, take, you know, if you brought a few, take a few first, and then others can partake. Also, tomorrow at the Lomax house, there will be some other plants for people that didn't get them here today. They'll bring them in the morning for at the Lomax house. And that's another very proper place because Mother's yard was full of beautiful plants. Now it's full of beautiful dead flower beds because no one lives there or waters or anything like that. But one day it is hoped to be returned. So if you brought plants, come take a few of what you want and then we'll let others partake. Okay?
Oh, well, built about 12 years ago. Her dad had sold half the mineral rights to an individual, and the company from Greenville financed the people to drill the well. So if a person buys half the mineral rights on property, the person who bought the half the mineral rights has the right to drill a well. We did not want a well drilled on the place, but we couldn't do anything about it because the law states and we could drill it. It's produced about over 10 years, and they sold it to 2 or 3 times to investors in Greenville that had money to invest, and apparently wanted to get all their money back in a short period of time. They pumped the well day and night, month and month after week, and finally the casing gave way. It was still producing when the casing collapsed. But it's in the process of, they're going to be moving the plug, supposed to be in the next, supposed to about 4 or 5 months ago, but they have to have a big rig to pull the pipe.
Okay.
So we'll get it off the place, and then we'll get some soil, and I'll try to put it back like it was originally. I used to plant peas on that patch out there. And in fact, the whole place, we were married in '59, and I started doing gardening and stuff. And this is a big garden out here, and all down the hill. We had every kind of vegetable you could think of. Anyway, I've been connected with the place about 68 years. So
wow, nice.
Been married that long, 66.
Leanne, would you be comfortable giving a tour? Let's wait
How long
for
was
Al.
that? Out, and then if we got to the same place, that's fine.
Texas Oil Museum. I'm Michelle, this is Angela. Just wanted to take some time to introduce you to the museum and why we're here at the Oil Museum, the East Texas Oil Museum. I heard that you kind of got a good background of our history last night with the mayor, but just want to reiterate some stuff and, like I said, let you know why you're at an oil museum to begin with today and why it's important that we're here. In 1930, October 1930, oil was found here, and when this oil was found, the largest oil field in the whole world was found as well.
Yes, okay, so this, let's see, prior to 1930 and the discovery of oil, Kilgore was a very small, poor farming town. That was the main way people made their money, was farming. About 500 people. After the discovery of oil, the population here went from 500 to 10 to 12,000, and that's in less than a month's time. So you can just imagine the rest of the country was feeling the effects of the Great Depression. It was hard to find work, it was hard to find food, but here in East Texas, we were not suffering like the rest of the country because of the discovery of oil. So people from far and wide came here, and as you can imagine, that was a problem because there was no indoor plumbing at the time. The streets were not paved, and they had record rainfall also, so the mud was a really big problem, and you'll see that more when you get to the back.
And with all these people coming in, of course, like she talked about, the plumbing was an issue, but also you gotta think infrastructure. There was not enough places for all these people to even sleep, not enough beds in general, let alone homes. Hotels were not a thing like it is today. We had the Kilgore Hotel, of course, and some other places, but they were not full of beds like they are today. We did have places around here called cot houses that emerged during the boom, and it is just what kind of sounds like a house full of cots, just a big building with all these beds in it, and you would literally rent your bed for the night. These oil field workers, after working upwards of 18 hours a day, 6 days a week, they'd come in, they'd rent a bed for 4 or 8 hours for about 25 cents, and then when they woke up, someone would probably be standing right in front of them from their shift in the oil field, waiting to lay down and go to sleep. Sometimes though, these men working in the oil field moved here with their entire families, which Angela will talk about school and education in a second, but so these people had to sleep their whole family somewhere. If they were lucky enough to have moved here in a car, they'd sleep in their cars. They'd rent out front porches, they would rent out rooms in other people's homes. It was really rough and poor conditions, even though, like Angela said, we were booming monetarily, physically. A lot of people still had some troubles because of all the people that were moving here to try to make money during the Depression. If you were wondering, these oil field workers, these roughnecks, they were making about $2 a day for that 18 hours of work. That was on the lower end. If you were experienced in this field, or in the industry I should say, you can make upwards of $6, $7 a day. That was a lot of money for them. But a lot of people think that $2 a day in 1930 was still a lot. It really wasn't. When you go back into Boomtown, you'll see in our general store there's some news clippings of what the prices of food were like back in 1930. And when you compare the prices of food to that $2 a day wage, it's really not that great. People still struggled to feed their families. It was very rough, poor conditions. But like I said, education was a big thing because, of course, all these people bringing their kids need school.
Yes, and so there was school here. Now, before the boom happened, East Texas, this area, I don't know if it was specific to Kilgore or the surrounding area, but there were 7 teachers. By a few months after the boom, they had gone all the way up to 50 teachers. Sometimes the teachers were spending more time meeting the children's basic needs. A lot of the kids came with no shoes, no clothes that fit them. So sometimes they would run out of room in the schoolhouse. They would have to have school outside. If you had 2 children, one that was 5 and one that was 10, they may be getting the exact same lesson. And another thing I wanted to tell y'all about the lodging is where the Kilgore City Park is now. From 1930 to 1934 was a homeless encampment called Happy Hollow. So the city allowed people to make ramshackle houses, canvas tents. They said even like something kind of like particle board would be today. And so people lived there for 4 years. And then the city ran them off to build the park. But if you go to the park today, there's still all of the brickwork that was done right when the park was built in 1934. So that's kind of a neat thing to think about, the city letting the homeless, be there.
Yes, because you gotta think all these workers, again, they were working in the field, they were bringing in all this prosperity to the area. And also, if you look at the schools too, a lot of the local schools, if you look into history, were built around during the boom. Kilgore High School was finished in 34, I believe. And a lot of the other schools, if you look into it, that are finally, they're getting new buildings today, 90 years later.
That's right.
But they were first built during the boom to accommodate all these children coming in. What was this stat about the Gaston?
Yes.
When they went to Christmas break, the Gaston schools, they had, I always forget the number. It was somewhere around, what was it, like 50 kids?
Right, and when they came back.
When they came back from Christmas break 1930, it was hundreds of kids essentially, just in those 2 weeks that were now trying to fit into their classrooms. Of course, other important things happened during the boom. During the 1930s, we call that the boom. Like the New London School explosion happened. Have you guys been talked to about that yet during your, some of you are not familiar?
1937, in New London, right down the road, there was a beautiful middle school and high school built using oil field money. Now, practice that happened sometimes back then is they would use that runoff gas from the oil field to heat places. And so the school was using runoff gas to heat the school in New London, and the school exploded in 1937, the worst school disaster in history. Over 300 students and faculty were killed that day. My grandmother was 10 years old and in 5th grade that day, and she obviously survived. She was reaching under her desk at the time of the explosion to pick up a little piece of paper. So, but that museum is also a wonderful museum. If y'all ever are able to go to that one, you'll be glad you did.
Yes, and though it was obviously a very big tragedy, some good came from it. So the reason why the school exploded was they had a gas leak and they did not know. You might think, why did they not know they had a gas leak? Gas has a very pungent smell. Well, naturally, gas has no smell. There's no odor to gas naturally. So when the gas was leaking, there was no smell. They didn't know it. They had some complaints of kids getting sick for a few weeks beforehand. But they were just actually investigating it that day. They had more people on campus investigating what was going on when the shopkeeper turned on what was nicknamed Sparky in the basement, and the school exploded. And from that, that is why we smell gas today, was because of the explosion right down the road from here. Texas legislature mandated that we put odorant in the gas, and then the United States followed, all the states, and then a lot of countries around the world followed, so that you can smell it today.
Right, and another interesting thing about that is it was Walter Cronkite's first big assignment was coming to New London to cover the explosion. So he was very young at the time. So I tell that to a lot of the younger kids and they just look at me, but I know y'all know.
So when you go through the museum today, I just want you to remember that a lot of things happened during this period. A lot of people moved to East Texas, like we talked about, because of the oil here, either indirectly or directly because of the oil. So many people live in this area today because of the boom, and so many things have changed because of the boom. Like we said, so many people live here, different businesses are here because of the boom, and even still today, people come here all the time asking if this field is still pumping and producing. We definitely still are. I tell everyone the rigs are kind of hidden in plain sight today. If you go just down 259, just like, 2 miles down the road, our Chili's parking lot has a rig with a chili pepper on it going. So they're still there, they're all over the place, we're still producing, though not like we used to. At the height of the boom, there's upwards of about 32,000 active wells in this field, which, by the way, is about 155,000 acres big. If you need kind of that reference to know how big it is very, very big. It is still the largest geographically in the continental United States today. Today, though, in this field, there's about less than 4,000 active wells left. That's the number I've been given. So definitely not what we once were, but we are still producing. Have you guys been to the world's richest acre downtown? Yeah. Okay, were you told about that some, I guess, the facts about that? So it was first drilled into in 1937, and in that 1 acre of land, just barely over 1 acre of land, in 30 years, 4.5 million barrels of oil came out of it. So this field, like I said, was producing a lot. If you were around to watch our intro video, they talk about the Big Inch pipeline a little bit. Many historians say that our oil here in this field helped us win World War II. Because like I said, during the later 30s, we started producing a lot once all these wells were being tapped into. And once we entered the war in the early 40s, everything started being shipped up north to the northern refineries and sent to the war effort. So big history happened here. And if you have any questions, feel free to let us know. We're full of other stories and information. We don't want to keep you here all day. But we'll be walking around to help you. You don't want to miss our elevator ride to the center of the earth. That is very fun and educational. Shows you all the layers that the oilmen have to drill through to get to the oil here in this field, 3,600 feet below ground. And there's some other things to read and see and do. And like I said, if you have any questions, you can ask Angela or I. And we also have some other people walking around too that are also educated in this field. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is Michael Pakeltis. I am not a Gladney, I am not a Dudley, but I am married to a Meadows. So I got to come. So I'm sure you got some other marrieds in here as well. But I don't know if everybody looked around, but did you see anything you recognized when you were a kid? I did. And did you see things that used to be that are no longer here anymore? So anyhow, we were showing, who was it? Bonnie, yes. That if you looked out front, the tube tester that they have for those vacuum tubes, that there's lots of those inside of here. And that's why everything was so big, because the tubes were this big, and now they're, the size of hairs. So anyhow, fabulous how technology works and so forth. And my best thing to tell the young people who are like the 20-year-old, 30-year-olds that are going to have kids, they're going to say, you used to carry a box to communicate. How did you keep from losing it? You didn't just touch your temple to have a conversation? So anyhow, so that's going to be the next thing, is people are going to tease people about carrying around their phones. Are we ready yet? No, not ready yet. Now we're ready? The Christian's going to come say something. Yes.
He just happens to be married to one of my favorite cousins. I have a lot of favorite cousins. But when we were all teenagers, Jennifer would come to my house for a couple of weeks, and I would go to Houston for a couple of weeks. So I met him way before they ever got married. And he's just been a blessing to our family. I just wanted to say a couple of things before we start food, because I've had a lot of questions, and I want to answer a couple of questions. Everyone is getting the buzz about next year's 50th anniversary. It will be. The Gladney reunions are always the last weekend of July. And someone asked me why, or if you want to know why, this is why. When the people came from Ireland to South Carolina, and the first one that was buried in the Gladney Cemetery, it was, now where's Wally? Wally would know the date. It was in July. I think it was July 20th. Was it July 29th? 1776. And I think it was July 29th that they died. And who was it? Was that? It was Joseph. Was that Joseph? Joseph was the fourth son that came over. Samuel, Richard, Thomas, and Joseph. And Joseph never married and never had kids. That's why we don't have any Joseph descendants. But I believe, and someone look up the date, because if it was July 29th, that's my birthday. So, that is why we have it in South Carolina the last weekend of July. And sometimes it falls on my birthday, and this year it didn't. So no cake this year, no party, don't sing, no anything, because it's next week. Anyway, the 4th weekend of July is when we have always had Gladney Reunion. So I'm glad that y'all are starting to talk about it, put it on our calendar. It will be in Winsboro, and we'll give those dates. It's always Friday and Saturday, and then you usually leave on Sunday. This is a rare occasion that I'm asking y'all to stay a little bit Sunday morning for the dedication tomorrow, the 75th anniversary of our Lomax farm. And our Meadows cousins have spent lots of time on our Lomax farm. My father was Lomax, my mother was a Meadows. We've always referred to it as the Lomax farm. Now, I have been referring to it for a couple of years as Lomax Meadows, because we have lots of hay meadows. And the Meadows kids used to come over and play. So anyway, we are gonna have, we're gonna pray and we're gonna eat. It's so nice of us to come together and break bread together. And we just are so happy that you are here.
All right, let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this beautiful evening. We thank you that people have taken time to prepare and make this just a wonderful place to gather as a greater family of the Gladneys and the Dudleys together. Thank you that we can share love, we can share friendship, we can share stories, we can share just the experience of being in a place that has all of the technologies and things we've grown up with, and we're so thankful that you've watched over us all this time. We ask that you bless this food before us. In Jesus' name, amen.
You're going to learn a lot tonight about our Scots-Irish history. You learned yesterday about the Kilgore and Texas history. So tonight you're going to learn more about our Scots and Irish history. But we have a new store that just came to my hometown, well, not my hometown, but the town I live in, Elgin, and it's called Things Celtic. They used to be in Austin, and then they moved to Dublin, Texas, and now they moved to Elgin, Texas. And Elgin, Texas is like kind of a, I don't know if it's Scottish or Irish because I haven't had time to look it up. Tawny, where's Elgin?
Everybody can hear me? Can you hear me? Good. I have 3 books going around on the tartans. One is just tartans, and one is Irish tartans, and one is Scottish tartans. So when you finish at your table, just pass it around and you can take a look at it and see. So the tartans started out to identify different clans, different families, and they all had a different pattern. And within these patterns, there could be several different types of tartans. The dress tartan, hunting tartan, and the ancient tartan. There's a number of words that they give over. They all are similar. Some of them are muted colors, some are bright colors, but they all have the same pattern. So, my sweet little bride right here is wearing the Macduff from Scotland. He's got his paralegal right here. And I'm wearing mine from my grandmother's side. She is the McLean of Lochbuie. And I'm sure you've seen the name McLean written a number of different ways. But they all started with the same Sir Hector McLean. His 2 sons couldn't come to terms on who should be the new clan chief. So they split. So one of the McLean, the clans of Europe, were one, and the other was the clans of Lochbuie, which is the Blue Lake that comes from the Hebrides Islands. That's popular. So I want to go over a few things Gladney's don't have it. We can pick one. Maybe you have a different family, like mine, I'm McLean. You can wear that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to make it as short as I can tonight, and show you a few things. These are my kilts. I'm not going to wear them tonight. I'm going to try to explain the parts of the kilt. This is a kilt.
Dan, you have to talk into the microphone.
Oh, okay. This is a kilt, the kilt, and it wraps around you. The pleat always goes in back. When it wraps around to the front, you have a cat, just like a belt buckle that fastens it. Down at the bottom, it stays open unless you use a kilt pin. This is my kilt pin from the McLeans. This one is a kilt pin from Gordon. These are the dress Gordon kilt. This is their target. And I wore this one because of the Indianapolis 500 Gordon Pipers was. Say again?
You wear anything under the kilt?
Yeah, shoes. So anyway, that's the first part. When you're talking about, this is a kilt. When I wear everything together, it's referred to as kilts. So I'm going to show you all the parts of the kilt. So that's the first one. The second one that goes in front of the kilt is a sporran. This is a military dress sporran. It's made from real horsehair. And the other sporrans can be about that size, and they're really just a purse. But it's a pocket, because you don't have pockets on your kilt. So you wear a sporran. And it goes a chain around your back, around your waist. And it goes in front just like that. I'm sorry, get off my parts here. You see why I'm not wearing it? It's not about 25 pounds when you get through. This is the waist belt that comes right in front and above. This comes above the sporran, that belt buckle. So this is the cross belt. It goes across your chest, one shoulder down. And that part right there holds the plate, which I'll show you in a few minutes. It's spelled plat, but pronounced plate. This is a plate. It wraps entirely around your body. It's pretty long. I'm unfolding it first. That's how long it is. So when you first start putting it in the back, put it under your belt, it comes on around until you put it this way. You unfold it in here, put it on your, this just goes this high. And that brooch holds this to your tunic, which I have to show you my tunic in a minute. So that brooch has a big needle on it. So that's the plaid. It's the plaid. It is pleated. This is a tunic. It goes above, put on down lats. It has a couple of little hooks right there that your waist belt goes on. And your cross belt will across the front like this. It has epaulets right there. You see it's unbuttoned. It's unbuttoned on the epaulette. That's because you have to put your plate in there and button it down. By the way, if you look at my Facebook page or the Gladney page, you will see a picture of me with that on. I was a lot younger back then. There's a lot of parts to it. In dress, you wear this, and the guys are not going to appreciate what these are called. These are called hose. They're not called socks. These are hose. If you look at some pictures of Kilgore, you will notice a pair of black shoes that have some laces that go all the way to the top, up to the calf. Those are called Kilgores. These are the hose that you wear with the Kilgore. These are called half hose. If you notice, there's no bottom to it. Put on your socks and shoes, and then you put these on. These are called flashes. They're underneath the flap. They're underneath the flap of the half hose. And the different colors represent different clans, different levels within the clan. This is a Gladney-Russell. It's really chicken feathers, true dark. So it's what Packers normally wear. This is my favorite. I want everybody to learn how to say this word. It means sock knife. It's called ski-and-do. Skin-do. Say it. Skin-do. Skin-do. It's a Scottish word for sock knife. And it fits your hose or your sock hole right there. Okay. Here's the final stuff. On my Kilgore, you notice there was a badge. You wear your clan badge on there. On the Kilgore. These are the Great Highland bagpipes. There's a lot of different bagpipes. These are the ones that are best known. This is called a blow stick. It's in the air bag with that. My bag is a little old. It's about 30 years old. It's made from elk hide. You have to season the inside of that with almost like a glue. But you have to heat it, pour it in there, rub it around, and seal all the holes and cracks in that leather. And at the bottom is a chanter. Regardless of how many notes you hear the bagpipers play, you know how many there are? 9. That's it. There's 9 notes. The longer ones are called drones. The longer one is called a bass drum. The 2 shorter ones are called tenor drones. And there's a reed in each one of these that have to be synchronized to 440 megahertz to make it sound proper. So that's pretty easy on the pipes. What else I got here? I didn't display this, but this is the Irish, the Republic of Ireland flag. Now, Northern Ireland, where Antrim is, does not have a flag of its own, but it does fly the Union Jack since they are part of the British Union. That is the Republic of Ireland flag. Let's see what else I have. I'm going to talk about 2 other things that I'm really kind of proud of. I have one thing here. My grandfather on my Lawler side was the first one born in the United States. And so his father on the 1880 census says that he only spoke Irish. So what I have here is a letter that was sent to my great-grandmother from her uncle from Dublin. This is the real letter. I keep it in darkness. And it's from 54 Capel Street, Dublin, Ireland. The significance of this to me is not only because it's my family, but because if you read it closely, you'll see how much family history it tells you. And I'm going to see if I can find that part here where it says, says, "Dear Mrs. Walker, your very kind letter came duly in hand on the 23rd of February, and I feel grateful. This was written on March 27, 1882. That's all that letter is. I regret that it has not been in my power to allow James's mother, my sister Margaret, to have happiness relating to that." So he's already told me that Margaret is his sister, and that Margaret is also my great-grandmother's mother. In that one sentence, that's how much I got out of that. So we put that in. This is written by James Mayer. So anyway, if anybody wants to see this, you can come up and see it, or I can bring it around, or I can let it at the back. And you're more than welcome to pick it up and read both the sides here. If you like, you can just pick this up and read it, both sides. The thing about reading this letter is that when they wrote on this small page, they would start the letter here, second page here, third page here, fourth page there. So that's why I redid the letter like this, so you can read it easily. Anyway, that's one of my prized possessions right there, that I'm more than happy to share it with anybody that wants to see it. Here's a little project I did when if many of you have done your ancestry, your DNA, you notice it shows you what your majority of your DNA consists of and different percentages all the way down. Well, I had a little project I started. Well, I'm from the United States. So the United States, I put this, all the U.S. symbols on the outside of this. And I open it up. And my next one was English. I had more English than anything. So this whole thing here is made English. My next largest DNA was France. And so I made one this size for France. My next one, guess what that is? Scotland, Irish, equal under my DNA. When I went from there, I went on down to a number of different things. Welsh, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Belgium. They keep getting smaller. It goes down to, I got 10 different levels here. All the way down to Eastern European Jew. Surprise names. So, anyway, that's a cute little, that's a nice little project you can do if you're so inclined. I enjoyed doing it. Spent a lot of time doing it. Those are the things that make me happy. As you can see, I've got a ton of stuff. I have more things at home than I know what to do with in family history, because there's so many more of them. Lucretia, can I get you to just do one more thing for me up here? You got me?
No way.
Okay,
No
come
way.
on.
No way. No, I won't come up on stage with you.
Okay.
Okay, what do you want?
Well, you
You're
have
gonna tell me-
done,
are you
you
gonna-
have done a
So
fantastic.
you're gonna tell me I'm wearing my tartan, right?
No, you're talking,
Okay, I'm gonna tell you about my tartan. Did you tell them that Gladney doesn't have a tartan? And so you told them about the County Antrim tartan?
I've told several people, I don't know what's that.
Okay, so the Gladneys, when they were in Ireland, they were in County Antrim, which is in the northern part of Ireland, and there is a tartan for County Antrim. And there's an old one, they call it ancient, and the dyes and the colors are a little more faded, and then they call them modern, and they have more brilliant colors. And then where from the Scotland end, the location is called Caledonia. Has anyone heard of Caledonia before? So there is a tartan for Caledonia. And then there's a lot of other people that have a lot more information than I do. But there's this new store that came to my little town in Elgin, and they just had their grand opening. And so I got my ladies, I'm in a group of ladies, and the group of ladies and I were supposed to be there for their open house, but I got sick a couple of days before. I didn't get to go. But I had already bought my tartan. Guess what my tartan is? No.
Lone Star, you told me that, I should.
I know, but I haven't told them. Y'all, get out of here. I am wearing the Lone Star tartan.
Okay, so I brought Lucretia up here for a very special reason. She has done one heck of a job in the past 4 years as vice president and president. As you can see, you get this many people together, it takes a tremendous amount of work, and we appreciate it so much. And if you haven't noticed, she kind of likes Western stuff. Anybody else notice that? Woohoo! So I made you something that I want you to take with you.
Dan's just the best. He always gives the really fun prizes. I was so jealous the year that he gave Kathy that beautiful table runner with Gladney crest on it. That was just so cool. Oh my gosh. Oh, when he was president, and I brought all these cowboy boots, and I gave him a cowboy boot when he was leaving. He made me cowboy boots. Look how cute. Little blue bonnets for Texas. Texas boots with blue bonnets, because of course that's what I brought to the reunion that you were president. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Appreciate it so much. I'm going to move these things out of the way.
Okay. So I had, so I told you I had the harebrained idea, and it was about the tartans. So we asked a couple of people if you have tartans to wear your tartans. So while he's packing this away, he said, don't pack away your Irish flag. A last minute thing, I asked people to bring tartans so we can learn about the education of our tartans. If you're wearing a tartan, please come up here so you can just tell us real quick what it is. Just real quick, and we just get a picture. And then if you brought a flag, because I asked some of you to bring a flag from your state, because we do have people here from different states. So get your little flags out and let's tell where we're from, okay? And if you didn't get that memo, we're going to do it next year for our 50th anniversary in South Carolina. So if you brought your flag, let's get it up.
This is the McDuff clan tartan, and it's Scottish, and it's St. Andrews, the St. Andrews area of Scotland. My grandmother was a Macduff. So this is the Russell clan with you see the sword is holding the tartan. This is from my dad, Glenn Russell's.
Well, out of about 80 people, at least 4 of us got dressed for the occasion. No, I'm just kidding. Because I did tell y'all to wear like denim and pearls and all of that. So you did dress to the occasion. We just kind of went above and beyond. So let's get a picture. And did anyone bring flags? Wait, Marilee, we got a picture. Micah?